Welcome back to another episode of Life in Focus. I'm your host, Ben Tate, and today we have a good one for you. Today I'm joined by the CEO and founder of Cline Sports Solutions, as well as Full Ride University, my good friend, Kalvin Cline. Appreciate you coming on, man.
Thank you, Ben. I appreciate it. And St. Pete has been nice, fresh off the airport. Got two words for you: good energy.
Good energy, man. That's what we have. That's what we're serving today all weekend.
I love it.
But yeah, before we get too deep into it, do you want to kind of just introduce yourself and, just kind of let us know what you're about and how you made it to this point?
No, absolutely. And named Kalvin Cline. I'll start us off at Pinecrest. Pinecrest School, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. This is where the story began. Now, a lot of people may have heard Pinecrest prior. Top private school in the country. Academics are through the roof, but what they also are known for is their basketball dynasty. And this was off the back of Brandon Knight and Coach David Beckerman. So Brandon Knight went to Kentucky, 8th overall pick in the 2011 draft. What a lot of people don't know is Coach Beckerman, David Beckerman, was also the founder of the clothing brand Starter.
That's crazy. I didn't know that.
So you remember Starter, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The puffy jackets,
man,
everything.
They started the hybrid approach between sports and streetwear. Absolutely. So they really are what modern day athleisure is. That was David Beckerman. So as you can imagine, this guy wasn't coaching basketball because he needed to keep the lights on. He loved what he did, and he was a winner. I mean, one of the greatest high school basketball coaches in the country, hands down. So him and Brandon really built the foundation at what Pinecrest was. With his basketball program. I mean, this was big-time basketball, Ben.
Absolutely.
Like, we had to move the games from just high school gyms to college stadiums because they were just drawing too much attention,
That's
too
impressive.
many fans. And this was the Brandon Knight, Austin Rivers type battles in the state of Florida, and you're a Florida boy. I'm sure you remember those days.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this was huge, right? And this is really what attracted me to Pinecrest when Brandon had moved on. Beckerman needed somebody to come in and really carry that torch to keep the program going, and we were actually able to do that. So we went and won the state championship 2012. I had a great year, was voted Student Athlete of the Year at Pinecrest. But on the catch side, I had zero offers, right? Basketball was my love. I was good, but I just wasn't a great player to transition into that college atmosphere, right? And that's a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah.
You know, when something you put so much time and effort and energy into, and it's not working out the way you planned, that's a hard pill to swallow, right? But as you know, a lot of winners know the importance of the pivot.
Yep.
You've got to be able to pivot on the path to success.
Absolutely.
And really, when I'm sitting there going into my senior year with no offers, Sally Mae started showing up everywhere.
Yeah.
I was like, what is this? Yeah. So, you know, as I come to understand my next step within college, how I'm going to fund this enormous endeavor, I start becoming more educated on just the student loan crisis here in America, right? 1.7 trillion in student loan debt. The average borrower has around $30,000 in their balance, around $500 monthly payment, and it takes them around 20 years to pay off. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
This is out of control. And as I became aware of what I was facing, I needed to figure out a new solution. And $500 a month, parents, I tell you this at home right now. Google what $500 a month in the S&P 500 equals in 20 years. And that's really the power of what graduating debt-free and leveraging the game of football can bring to that football family, to that athlete. It's a tremendous tool. So as I kind of became more aware of what I was facing, I needed to figure out a new solution because basketball just wasn't working. And I was going into my senior year. So I Googled which sports offer the most scholarships in college. And, of course, football pops up. So I'm like, all right, let's get the helmet, let's get the shoulder pads, and let's go.
Let's go.
And, since I was still a basketball player, I knew I would only have this senior season to get the film that I needed. So I did 11 games. So every game that I'm stepping on that field, somebody's going on my highlight tape, Ben.
Yeah, you got to.
Somebody is getting put on my highlight tape. Somebody's helping me get a scholarship.
Yep.
And that's the mentality that you really kind of have to take, especially when your back's against the wall and you have nothing else going for you at the time. So really went out there, had a phenomenal season, but had no offers still at the end of the year. So here comes January. I had basketball season coming up, so I wasn't able to do any showcases, any 7-on-7 events. So I had to maximize those 11 games, that highlight film that I put together. And within a 6-month period, I was able to obtain a full ride scholarship offer to play for the Virginia Tech Hokies.
Let's go.
And that really developed the blueprint for what Full Ride University is. That 6 months, the strategy and system that I created in order to get on Virginia Tech's radar. This is an FBS program, right? This is a top program in the nation for a kid that never played football, came out senior year, and was given an opportunity to go play at the next level. So that's really where the germination of Full Ride University came from. That 6-month process that I packaged into an online coaching course where families can come and get that guidance they need to navigate that recruiting process. So once I was able to accomplish that goal, I get the offer in May, I report in June. That's how fast that happened, right? And next thing I know, here I was playing at a high school level, 11 games in, now I'm at the Virginia Tech Lane Stadium. Enter Sandman.
Yeah.
It was an unbelievable opportunity. And, I had no anticipation that I would actually be playing my freshman year as a true freshman. Right? I was watching the first game of the season in the dorm rooms with other redshirt freshmen.
Yeah.
So we have all our friends come over, all the other athletes in the dorm room come over. We have the TV on in the living room. I'm watching the first game of the season from the dorms. Next week, our starting tight end, Ryan Malik, who played a couple years in the league, phenomenal tight end, actually got hurt. And I get called to the coach's office, said, prepare. Yeah. You're going to be playing next week.
Next man up.
So here I am, 11 games, full experience of football, stepping onto the college atmosphere, 12th game I've ever played of football.
That's crazy.
And, that just shows as well, too, right? How am I able to go in and compete as a true freshman, make plays, score touchdowns, and had no offers my senior year of high school?
Yeah.
So it wasn't that I didn't have the talent or capabilities, is that I had to develop a marketing and sales strategy to get me in front of the right people.
Right.
And have opportunity, and timing is critical, Ben, as you know.
Absolutely.
After Virginia Tech, did a graduate transfer to Texas A&M. Of course, I was under the tutelage of Frank Beamer, the legendary Hall of Fame college coach. And my redshirt sophomore year, he retired. That was his last year. And back in the day, we didn't have the transfer portal, Ben.
Sure. No, you had to sit out
so
a year.
So you had to sit out a year if
Yeah.
you wanted to transfer. But since I graduated early, in 3 years, I had 2 years of eligibility left because I had redshirted.
Okay.
So I took that opportunity with the change of coaching, moved to Texas A&M, and played with Kevin Sumlin and some phenomenal players. And talk about another atmosphere to play at Cobb
Yeah, I was going to
Field.
say, that's pretty cool.
I mean, I was very blessed and fortunate to play in some incredible stadiums and share some incredible experiences, all due to this game of football. But the first step in the entire process is getting to the next level, getting some type of funding to secure that opportunity and avoid student loan debt. And that's where we are today.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a couple things jumped out to me. One, information inefficiency, right? A lot of people don't know what they don't know. And so obviously you kind of did the legwork and the hard part of kind of self-teaching to a degree, the strategies that you needed to even obtain that scholarship. So now, basically, everyone that you're teaching now is basically getting a shortcut, a more efficient, streamlined version of how to get to where you got to, which I think is super important. Obviously athletics is what led you there, but, it's kind of twofold, right? You get the athletics, more importantly, you get the education while you're there. And at the end of the day, a lot of times, like you said, by what you did, you're saving $500 a month minimally, right? Just in that example, if we just use that example as an example,
as a
right?
Student loan payment.
Student loan payment, right?
Replacement, yes.
And sometimes when people think about money that they're saving, I think they should also look at it from a different vantage point, as it's really money you're reallocating, right? So use the example of the stock market, right? So it's like, hey, if I'm saving $500 a month on my mortgage or my car insurance or yada yada, it's like, well, where's that $500 going, right? Is it going to my savings account? Is it going to partying? Is it going to investments? Is it going to self-education? So I think that's a really important thing that families should think about when it comes to their students. Like, listen, I'm not necessarily providing you a solution to necessarily save that money. Look at it from, I'm providing you a solution to reallocate that money to something else that's going to make you some more money, right? So now you're going to go to school for free, but when you come out of school, you have an option to have some investments built up.
It gives
or whatever
you
the
options.
Case. Options, that's the whole thing.
It gives you options.
Absolutely.
And when you have options, you can make the best decision for you and maximize the ROI.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, I mean, what do you think was one of the biggest lessons that you learned as being a D1 athlete?
I think what you hit on earlier, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And what can get you trouble down not only the football recruiting path, but just in life in general is when you don't know what you don't know, but you think you know.
Right. Then you have no chance of
That's dangerous.
learning.
That's dangerous, right? So I think accepting the fact that you don't know what you don't know and seeking help, not out of weakness, but out of strength. And I think what I've learned from athletics, from corporate, and from now within my new ventures, you got to have a team.
Absolutely.
You cannot win on your own. It's very, very critical, right? And throughout the Full Ride University program, you'll see within the 7 baby steps and the 7 play calls that you're going to have to add team members throughout the process to help you accomplish your goal. Now, let's go through those 7 baby steps real quick, right?
Jump into
those 7 play calls. The first one is we got to make sure you're eligible, right? Now, the NCAA, the NAIA, and junior college each have different eligibility requirements. So it's very, very important to make sure that we are meeting those requirements from the get-go. Could you imagine, Ben, getting an offer, getting a full ride scholarship, and because you didn't take the 16 approved courses, the right classes, you no longer qualify.
Yeah.
That would be heartbreaking. And as a coach, imagine that as well.
Yeah.
Where you let that slip and that athlete can no longer obtain that opportunity. So making sure you meet eligibility requirements is paramount, and that's step number 1. Step number 2 is we have to optimize performance. We got to do a self-evaluation. The 4 S's: stats, speed, size, and strength. Take those numbers, look in your conference in your local area, see who is getting offers. Who in your conference is getting scholarship offers? Now take those same stats and compare them to that individual. You're going to see very quick where you need to improve. It's 2 things that are going to happen. You're going to say, I need to really get into the gym here and start working. Or you're going to say, I'm right there. But something on the outside of the performance piece isn't connecting, right? So that's going to be a big eye-opener for these families when we go through that self-evaluation and identify the metrics that these other recruits are hitting, and it's working and it's getting them offers, right? And as well as academics, right? If we need to improve that GPA score or those test scores, we got to get you some help. Here's team member number 1, right? If you need some type of tutor or support for the test, let's get you that. So that way we can knock that eligibility out. And then with the performance piece, we got to get some professional trainers. And when I say professional, sports skilled that are in the football arena that understand what they need to accomplish with your performance. They are very niche. They are very specialized in the football athlete performance. So we got to get to those gyms where other D1 recruits are working out. And that's going to level up your game and level up your performance. Step 3, got to create a recruiting plan. I would say the equivalent to a recruiting plan is a budget when you're trying to get out of debt. You're not just going to aimlessly get out of debt.
Forward.
You got to know how much money's coming in, how much money's going out, and what's left over. With the recruiting plan, we got to figure out which schools work best for you. How are we going to get in contact with those schools? How are we going to get in contact with the coaches? How are we going to leverage and negotiate different opportunities with these schools? It doesn't just happen, right? There's a sales and marketing strategy, and that is exactly what goes on in the recruiting plan, and it's the lifeblood in the recruiting process. Got to put it on paper, and we have to follow it step by step, all right? Now, once we have that, we can move on and start building some marketing material. Highlight tape. It is mission critical. Families, if you didn't spend at least $50 on your highlight tape, we got to check. We got to do something. Because that is your biggest asset to getting in contact, especially in this digital age. Right? Coaches are using these platforms to cipher through all the recruits that are hitting their desk. And you have about 6 seconds to catch that coach's attention with a big play in order for them to keep watching and say, all right, I need to go take a visit and see what's going on here. All right? And as well as with the athletic resume, that's a stat sheet, essentially, of academics performance on one page. Keep it simple. And it just allows them to cross off some of their checklists to make sure that you are eligible and you're a good fit for the program.
Absolutely.
Now, and I'll say with the highlight tape, let's make a comparison, Ben. You're in real estate. When you're on LoopNet, you're on the MLS. How critical are the pictures of that property to attract a buyer?
Very critical. You're doing the eye test immediately.
Immediately. You go out to a restaurant. And you want to see if this is going to be a good spot.
Curb appeal, how does it smell, demographic.
What's the first thing? People go on Google, they go on Yelp. Reviews and pictures. Right? That is how important the highlight tape is. And a lot of the times the highlight tape is not doing justice and is not helping the ultimate goal. And we have to have, again, another team member, which can be a digital creator, someone who specializes in making highlight tapes. They understand what catches the eye, the psychology of an individual using that software.
Yep.
So they are going to know things and be able to add different edits and technique to help you stand out.
Yep.
So it's paramount. We have to have someone come in and optimize that highlight tape. All right. And once we do those things, so we've made sure we're eligible, we've optimized performance both athletically and academically, we've created a recruiting plan, and we've created marketing materials. If we accomplish those 4 things, offers are going to start coming. That's step 5. Now, what type of offer?
Right.
There's verbal offers and there's written offers. Verbal offers, that's a whole lot of chitty and no bang.
Yeah.
At any point, someone can walk away.
Yeah,
Someone can
sure.
change their mind. They can say, this is no longer a good fit.
Yep.
A written offer, that is legally binding now. That is a legal document contract between 2 parties. You have to have, and we tell our families this all the time, have an attorney just do a once-over on it.
Yeah.
Take a look at it. This is a big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, the average football scholarships are around $250,000.
Yeah. Especially now with NIL.
And there's so many new regulations and changes that you need to have someone who's a professional in contract law take a quick look at it, let them explain it to you in plain English so you're aware of what's going on, and maybe something may come up where you have additional questions. And it's very, very critical. This is a big decision. This could be a life-altering decision, and we want to make sure that you're as protected as possible. Both parties are protected as possible, right? And that's just good due diligence. Anytime you have a contract come across your desk, you got to have somebody look over it.
And make sure it's real.
That's just good practice, right? So that's step number 5. How do we navigate and negotiate these offers? Because what's going on as well is with the new equivalency model, partial scholarships are becoming more popular. So previously, you would get 1 scholarship, 1 player, full ride. Now that same scholarship can be divided upon multiple people.
Gotcha.
So you can get a 25% scholarship, a 50% scholarship, a 75% scholarship. And we can stack that with other types of scholarships. So partial scholarships are a good deal. But it's imperative that the families are aware that if it's a partial scholarship or a full ride scholarship, because now you're going to have to make up the difference somewhere if it's a partial. And again, we want to stay away from the student loan crisis,
Right.
$1.7 trillion.
Yep.
We're not doing
Don't
that.
add to it.
We're not doing that.
Not by you.
All right? And then step number 6, right? We teach our families to try to graduate within 3 years.
Okay.
That's the goal. We want to graduate fast, so that way whatever remaining eligibility you have left, we can start our master's.
Right.
Now you're getting all of this covered under football and the funding that it's providing. Right? So now when you, at our last step 7, transition into the marketplace, you have a little bit of a competitive edge.
Sure.
Right? It's very, very critical right now in this economy. You have to have some type of edge and I would say advantage to put yourself in the best position.
Sure. Absolutely. How can you stand out?
Right? And that's step number 7, transitioning into the marketplace. That is very difficult on athletes. The end,
Yeah. Sure.
saying goodbye.
Yeah.
Right? And you have a lot of identity involved with the game. So when that is no longer available, it's no longer present.
Right.
I mean, this is something that when you are an athlete, it's like a musician,
Yeah. That's all you know.
your instrument.
Yeah.
Every day you wake up, you go to sleep, you eat, you drink, you breathe the sport that you are in your craft that you're trying to perfect.
Absolutely.
And
It's over.
boom, it's done. Everything you've identified with, you've given 100% passion and love and blood, sweat, tears is no longer a part of your life. I would say it's as close maybe to a divorce as possible.
Sure.
And that takes a lot out of a person, right?
Yeah.
So as an athlete transitioning into the marketplace, it is very difficult from an emotional standpoint.
Yeah.
We talk a lot about emotional intelligence in our coaching program as well.
Yeah.
Right? And this is a big time point within the football life where you've got to have a plan.
Right.
And we take a lot of the skills of the athlete, right? Where we transition well into the marketplace, but in specific domains. And what we've seen a lot of success with is in sales.
Yeah.
Athletes do very well in sales. Just some of the basic characteristics of an athlete, right? Hardworking, driven, the ability to endure pain and push forward,
Yep.
right? Being able to overcome failure.
Yeah. I was gonna say fear of rejection.
Failure is constant in athletics,
Absolutely.
right? When you drop a pass, you gotta catch the next one.
Exactly.
You miss a tackle, you gotta come back with the same speed and intensity and blow that hole up.
Yep.
Right? It's just like in sales. You miss a deal, the deal falls through, you got to be able to bounce back tomorrow and go get another one.
Absolutely.
So we transition over very well into sales, and we do advise a lot of our families to seek that route when they're transitioning out of the game, and then be able to leverage that network that they've built throughout their time in college.
Yeah.
As a collegiate athlete, you really have a great community of people that are trying to support you, are fans of you. How are you networking?
Right.
How are you building your network as you transition into the marketplace to be able to turn that into maybe a deal, maybe some money? So these are all things that we talk about, we discuss, we strategize to help within that transition. And I'll say lastly, before we move on, is the Full Ride University program is built specifically for that athlete entering their senior year with nothing. It's built for that athlete that may have a verbal offer or two that is underrated, the underdog, just doesn't have the visibility needed because it's what I did. It's a proven system that I've stress tested and actually succeeded in. So yes, you want to start earlier in the process, but most of the times what we're seeing are the families who have come in late to the process and are like the oh wow moment. Sally Mae starts showing up and like, who is this? And that leads them to Full Ride University, right? So it's not for everyone because it's very high intensity and you're moving at a different speed.
Sure.
Right? There's a lot of other coaching programs that if you start early enough, those are really great. But Full Ride University is for that athlete, a rising senior that doesn't have any options at the moment and needs a intense, proven system within a 6-month period that can show results because the clock is ticking, Ben.
Absolutely.
You get 4 years of high school if you don't reclass or do a prep year. 4 years. Every year that clock is ticking. So we are moving fast. We're moving with purpose. And if the family buys in, and you see how I say family, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not just the athlete and it's not just the parent.
Sure.
It's a family deal.
Absolutely.
Everybody's got to be on the same page. Everybody's got to be moving with the same speed, and everybody's got to want it the same.
Absolutely.
Right? If one person wants it over the other, we're not going to be able to accomplish our goals. So when I say family, we get everybody in the call, everybody in the same room, mom, dad, athlete. If it's a single parent household, we got to go find the old G coach. You know who I'm talking about, Ben. The old head in the gym that just loves coaching. They love mentorship. They're opening up the gym on the weekends, staying late, mission driven. So if you're in a single family parent household, go find the OG coach and tell him what you're trying to do. Tell him you're a part of Full Ride University and you need him to help get you to the next level, and they will help you.
Yep, I agree, and I love everything about that, and I think something that I noted just from that is you broke it up into digestible steps, right? I think whether you're putting a puzzle together or playing a board game or putting together something from the furniture store, whatever, everyone can do it because they've, for lack of a better word, dumbed it down to steps, right? But it's just like, you can't take all, I think when you make things into a step-by-step process, it becomes like, okay, this is a clear path forward. I know what clearly comes after the first step. If step 1's not completed, we can't go to step 2. Step 3 doesn't even matter if step 2's not done, wherever the case is.
Absolutely.
And I think that's important because I think you can apply it to every facet of your life, right? So if you can start taking a big goal and break it down into steps, that's going to help you post-college, right? Okay, post-college, my career's done. What happens next? Well, I want to be here. Well, let's break that down to 7 steps. What has to be done first? Oh, maybe I need to get a mentor. Maybe I need to, eat dirt for a little bit and work at this entry level job to get enough money to do this or experience to do that or whatever the case is. And so I think that inherently, indirectly, so to speak, you are kind of teaching life, good habits for life by breaking things down into a step-by-step process. And again, you can't. I think not skipping steps is important too, right? Because I think a lot of us want to take the shortcut, right? And I want to just go to step 7 where I get the scholarship. It's like, well, you didn't put the work in and you didn't follow like the formula that works,
100%.
So I think that's super valuable. And I bet as you grow the business, there's going to be another opportunity, I would imagine, for those junior college athletes, right? That again are in that same boat as a senior, didn't have any offers. Maybe they didn't have their grades set up, or they didn't have something set up to where they had to go junior college, but they're in the same boat. They're still trying to get that full ride.
Yes.
So they could probably still apply some of the things that you obviously put together, and or you can obviously tailor something to that down the line that probably could, because I think with the integration of NIL, what I'm interested to see is how, and I think it's too early. I think anytime there's a huge change, it takes years to see what the trickle down is. And so I'm interested to see with NIL, how does this directly impact anybody that's a 3-star or less as an athlete, right? Because as a coach, especially if I'm at a big SEC school, big ACC school, it's like, why would I take a risk on anybody that's a no star to a 3-star when I could just go take a redshirt freshman from Texas A&M that was already had college, nutrition, college coaching. I could see he went to every single class. He's not going to be an issue for me, as opposed to seeing, the high school senior who, listen, you didn't put a lot of good stuff on tape. You didn't really apply yourself when it came to the educational side of things, whatever the case is. And so, those are just some initial thoughts I had from that rundown.
No, and it's a complete paradigm shift right now within the college recruiting process.
Yeah.
The transfer portal and then NIL.
Yeah.
As you had mentioned, how do I justify taking a full ride scholarship and somewhat gambling on a high school recruit who is unproven? When I have maybe a year, 2, 3 years of film of someone at another D1 school, Division II, junior college, who shows that they can compete and make plays at this speed and at this level. Right? So that is already working against the high school recruit. And again, it goes back to you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
Things are changing every day, which is requiring a lot more coaching on this process to establish one, market value. It's super competitive out there right now, and you have to use every edge that you can. And another thing I'll say with scholarships is sometimes a lot of players and families get caught up on full ride scholarships just being Division I.
Sure.
Full ride scholarships are given at Division I level, Division II, and junior college, and NAIA. So these are multiple governing bodies that offer full ride scholarships and partial scholarships.
Right.
Now, if you have a partial scholarship, you can stack that with academic aid to get you to that full ride.
Right.
So however we got to get to that full ride is what we're going to do.
Right, that's the goal.
That's the goal, right? So even if we're getting a partial ride, that's great compared to zero.
Sure, absolutely.
And then whatever is in between that margin, we've got to find some other support to get us to that 100%, right?
Yep.
That is the goal, and we're leveraging football as the funding mechanism to get us there.
So let's dive into a little bit of Cline Sports Solutions. How does that integrate with what you're doing on the full ride side?
Yeah, absolutely. So Cline Sports Solution is the parent company of Full Ride University, which is our flagship coaching program.
Okay.
Right? Cline Sports Solution, think of it as the strategic umbrella of multiple sports-focused programs. Outside of the recruitment process itself, there are going to be a lot of things that come up in the football life that you're going to...
How are you going to navigate it?
How are you going to navigate it? How are you going to build that team, right, of someone who has been down that process before? The football life is very unique, Ben. There's not many that make it to certain levels and can share that experience and provide coaching because they've been there, done that, got the T-shirt.
Right.
So when I go to the gym and hire a trainer, I want to make sure that trainer has abs.
Right.
That trainer is working a fitness program themselves.
Right.
If I need to go to the doctor, I want to make sure that they're a licensed physician. They have the necessary training, right?
Yeah.
If I need to go buy a piece of property, I want to use a licensed real estate agent.
Sure.
Right? So these people have subject matter expertise because they have experience. It's the same with college football recruiting.
Yep.
A lot of times, and I'm not bashing anybody, but sometimes, people who could be selling a coaching product for recruitment, but didn't make their high school JV team. Something's a little off right there, right? That's like that's the trainer walking around with the beer belly.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, come on, I think there's value in experience, the big E.
Yep.
You know when the fire is hot. You know how to navigate certain terrain, and you can provide counsel and even lessons learned.
Yep.
Not to say that experience was perfect.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's better when it wasn't perfect because then you can advise on better decision making to the families that you're coaching.
Yep. I couldn't agree more. I mean, I don't think you can be an expert or have you can't have expertise without being an expert. And I don't think you could be an expert without having experience, right? And so even the talking heads that we see, the journalists, so to speak, on TV, right? Obviously, journalism, it's you know, it takes time. It is a profession, right? To be well spoken, to be well thought out, to critically think and crunch data and draw parallels and come up with they're coming up with the things that we're arguing about in the bar, right? About like LeBron Jordan, this and that, or Bucks versus Saints, or whatever the case is. They come up with a lot of the storylines, and so I'm not taking away from them, but obviously a lot of them haven't laced it up and got hit in the mouth, right? They never caught a pass over the middle or even caught a pass, right?
Yeah.
And so it's tough to say that they're experts. Let's just say in the NFL, even if they've been covering it as a journalist for 30 years, sure, they know the ins and outs of it, but until, if you haven't done it, it's hard to say you're an expert in it, right?
Yeah.
And so, you want to go to the best person you can for whatever you're trying to learn, right? Yeah. So you got to go to somebody that has expertise, and expertise leads to a high level of competency. And, to be able to teach something is mastering that thing,
Absolutely.
Right? And so I think that you could be, micro masters of something if you haven't practiced, right? Because maybe you spent 30 years teaching fitness and weightlifting.
Yeah.
So you probably know the right way you are supposed to hold the bar and bend your back and your knees and nutrition, but there's always going to be a slight disconnect if you've never done it before yourself, right? You won't be able to empathize with the good days or the bad days. It's just going to be kind of neutral as a coach if you haven't done it before, in my opinion.
And you've kind of touched on it right there, Ben. A lot of what I'm referring to in regards to the experience of the football life is not what goes on the football field. It's what goes on in the locker room.
Yep.
It's what goes on off the field, behind the scenes.
It's the early mornings, late nights. It's
the emotional intelligence, right? The navigating the business world of sports. That's where Cline Sports Solutions comes in, right? You can be a good football expert by knowing the X's and O's, play calls. You never really have to play the game in order to do that. But to advise a football family and a football player on some of the emotional challenges that they're going through, some of the business decisions that they have to make, when you're that athlete, having that experience of being in that locker room, being in that lifestyle, can really help, like you said, show compassion and empathy and really give them the best advice from a lot of lessons learned.
Absolutely. So what'd you say? So obviously we talked a little bit about the nuts and bolts of the business itself and what it does and how it serves, provides value to families and student athletes. Let's talk about a little bit of the behind the scenes, right? Like, so starting the business, what gave you the confidence to start this business? A lot of people have things they enjoy and automatically think they can, capitalize on that. But being a business owner, being an entrepreneur is a lot different than having a hobby or having an interest, right? So how did you have, how'd you have the confidence, so to speak, to start this business and, go full throttle with it?
Yeah, absolutely. So it wasn't just a jump right into it, right? So I did undergrad at Virginia Tech, did my master's degree at Texas A&M, went back to Florida, did my doctorate in health science at Nova Southeastern University, and went into corporate. Okay. So I was in corporate for several years in the life science industry, in operations, business development, sales, and that was an incredible experience. So now on top of being an athlete, I've combined that with corporate experience and had an opportunity this past year where, I got that itch, Ben.
Was the itch for something more? Was
the itch was the football itch.
Yeah.
Because when you make that transition, as we talked about a little bit with the identity, right? When you gotta find a new path to success, right? A new path to that goal that you've been working towards and trying to attain, you gotta find another path to get there.
Absolutely.
You're not just gonna say, I'm gonna walk away and it is what it is. So on your path, you're really trying to find the next version of you.
Yeah.
So in that pursuit, football really didn't serve that pursuit at the moment within corporate, right? Yeah, the intangible skills that we talked about, hard work, discipline, the ability to push through adversity, made me successful in that environment.
Yeah.
And once I hit the point of critical mass of I've gained a lot of experience, I love the world of business now, how do I combine that with the other experience that I have, which is the football player, Kalvin Cline?
Yeah.
And I started getting that itch. You know, a few years went by, but
Yeah,
there's
I gotta
something
get back
about the
close.
game, man.
Yeah, you want to get close to the
You
game.
know,
Yeah.
it's the subtle things of like when you smell the cut of fresh grass. You
Absolutely.
know, that brings back that brings it either brings back some pain from the
Yeah.
two-a-days,
Yeah.
or it brings back some really great memories of game day.
Yeah.
Right? And when that happens enough, you come to the realization that like this is a big part of me.
Yeah, absolutely. It was. It is. It has
And
been.
now that I have an opportunity, the experience, the confidence to be able to guide a lot of these families on doing something that, to be honest, man, a handful of people on this planet maybe have accomplished. Going out 1 year of high school football and obtaining a full ride scholarship to a Division I FBS school like a powerhouse like Virginia Tech. So who am I to keep that to myself?
Yeah.
I want to help the football community. I want to help individuals who love the game, families who love the game,
Yeah.
and give them the blueprint, the system and process that they can copy and paste and win with to obtain that debt-free education.
Yeah, it's a good combo of providing value and chasing purpose. You know,
Purpose.
And so no, I mean, I think that's super. I don't know. It's like you said. We said mission driven, right? It's like, you know, that's what life's about. Is finding something that you're passionate about, something that you have. You know, something that is part of your lifestyle, something that you can share and not be a gatekeeper. And a lot of people don't even gatekeep intentionally. It's just they're going through the motions and they don't realize, like, man, you've obtained so much value that would be valuable to somebody else.
Yeah.
Like you always talk about information efficiency, right? And so I always talk about that a lot on the real estate side of things. That's why I'm always like an open book when people come with questions and stuff. And obviously I love talking about it. But you know, same for me. I was in the corporate world in real estate, wanted to find a way to be more purposeful with it and provide value. And I think that is kind of the full circle moment, right? It's like something provided value to up front. You took that opportunity and ran it with it, took advantage of an opportunity that some people take for granted, right? Because maybe they didn't have to go through that 7 steps to even make it possible, right? They had luck of the draw, God-given talent that got them in the door.
Yep.
And maybe they fizzled out. Maybe they were a rock star. Who knows, right? But yeah, I think that's super powerful. And I think right now, I can imagine as a parent, you want to do everything you can to facilitate your child's dream, right? And sometimes it seems unfeasible because you may not get, you know, you weren't invited to that camp, or you weren't invited to that 7-on-7, or you have no offers going into the senior year. So I think going into your senior year of high school is such a scary time because you feel like you get the itis, you feel like you're almost there, but you also realize, man, like 8 months from now, the real world's going to come. My parents are going to ask, where am I going to college, or what am I going to do for work? I got to have an answer, right? And you know, I think just giving, you know, I always think it's very valuable for most people to go to college if they can find the means to make it happen. Purely off the networking that comes from it, like you said, whether it's your teammates, whether there's the social life, whether it's the parents of your friends or the parents of your teammates, right? Like you just never know who knows who and how it's going to be connected. And so I think what you're doing is super valuable, and I'm excited to kind of see where it goes. You know, I know you're obviously, I feel like everything's in the early stages because there's so much opportunity, you know, for growth and, you know, just people, you know, understanding the value that you provide. And I just think it's super powerful, man.
No, absolutely. And you know, I keep hearing the word network, right?
Yeah.
And I think when we look at your field within real estate too, one thing that we have come across with football families that is really electrifying and can optimize that network is having your real estate license. I encourage every football family that I come in contact with to have your real estate license. Someone on that family be able to obtain a real estate license, because the network that you will build through the game of football can provide many opportunities for you to participate within that industry as a licensed real estate agent on a referral basis.
Exactly. Let's talk about that real quick.
Where you're in a locker room with some pretty talented guys, right? You're going to make some really good friends, some really great connections, and some of those individuals are going to go on to build businesses. Some of those individuals are going to go on to the next level, maybe professional. And they can really help bring you in and give you that head start in life when you're not signing a guaranteed contract, right? You're going into the real world by a simple referral if you have that real estate license.
Yeah. I mean, you could make $50,000 a year off 10 referrals a year.
Wow.
You can make $100,000 a year off facilitating those 10 transactions a year.
Absolutely.
There's at least 100 people on the roster in college, you know, practice team, active roster, minimally 100, sometimes more in college. Obviously, with some of them have freshman teams, etc. So even if we just use 100, you get 10% return rate. That's 10, right? Just off the football team. That's just off the football program. Not to mention the other athletic programs, the baseball team, softball team, volleyball team, etc. So I say the same thing. $300, $400, depending on where you go to get your real estate license, the best investment you'll have for the rest of your life.
Absolutely.
And like you said, even if it's on a referral basis, because you have to have a license to be able to accept a commission for a real estate transaction.
Absolutely. And one thing I learned real quick about I'm a licensed realtor. I have my real estate license. The average Joe isn't necessarily walking through that test easy peasy, Ben.
For sure.
You got to study,
Yep.
right? And here we go with Cline Sports Solution again. And if that is an avenue or a realm that family is trying to explore, we can help walk you through that process of how do you obtain that real estate license, how to study, how to prep for it.
Right.
Because it's such a powerful tool.
Absolutely.
Oh, my goodness. And football is a very nomadic lifestyle, right? Now, even for my professional families that are in the league or even collegiate level with the transfer portal now, families have to pick up and go where they can to get either the job or the opportunity to play at that school. So if you are the wife of a football player, you're the wife of a coach, getting your real estate license can save your family a lot of money and help make your family a lot of money just by supporting the families that you're in contact with day to day with the other teammates and other coaches' families or players' families.
Absolutely.
And it's truly a powerful tool for individuals to leverage.
Absolutely. And the thing about real estate too is like, if you chase getting your real estate license as kind of like a first step, it'll open up 100 other doors that might be more of interest to you, right? So you might be like, I don't want to sell houses or I want to do this. Okay, go get the real estate license so you have you understand real estate on a macro level, and then from there maybe you go into interior design.
Options.
Gives you options. That's what
and
you
just to clarify for the audience, as a referral agent, you are not fully practicing real estate.
No.
You are not buying and selling properties for clients. You are simply identifying the top agent in whatever area your client is looking to purchase in.
Give them a call.
You vet that individual, ensure that they are professional,
Have expertise.
that they have expertise, experience, the big E,
Competence.
to put you in the best position possible. Now, that is your role as a referral agent, right? You're doing that vetting process on behalf of the family. So that way, it alleviates a little bit of that stress when they're moving. When you're moving and getting a new job or moving to go play for a new team, that's a stressful process. So as the referral agent, and that family just wants to help you out. They want to give you opportunity because you've been with them for so long. You've built an incredible bond on that football field, on that gridiron, Ben. Why wouldn't I want to help you out and support you?
Absolutely.
Right? And this is a great opportunity to do so. But like we said, the average Joe is not passing the real estate test. You have to prepare accordingly, and you need people to help get you to that point.
I put in some effort.
Absolutely. And on top of that as well, with just referring for real estate, talk about financing, right? Mortgage loan originator. I'm also a mortgage loan originator. But that's also another realm where you can navigate and explore in that sales industry.
Absolutely.
Where we see a lot of sports and athletes transition well into.
Absolutely. In short, effort equals options, But to kind of close us out here, for somebody, it doesn't have to be on the sports side of things. Maybe they're chasing a business, success, whatever. What's one piece of advice that you would give them when they're just chasing a goal?
Throw deep, baby.
Throw deep?
Throw deep.
Throw deep, throw often?
And what I'm saying by that
No
is,
risk it, no biscuit?
if you're going to do something,
Yeah.
do it.
Do it.
Go all in.
Yeah.
Right?
Anything you've been able to accomplish doesn't seem hard in hindsight because you've already done it. Everything seems so hard that we haven't tried yet, but it's just because we haven't tried it yet. And so many different avenues open up once you just try it, right? Just do it, Nike, right?
Just do it.
Just do it. So, I think it's super powerful. Again, I appreciate you taking the time to fly
Absolutely.
over here and kind of just
course.
run down all the valuable stuff you have going on right now, man. And this time next year, I'm excited to just kind of see where things are because I know it's you haven't even breached the surface of where this is going to lead to. And again, I think for families out there that or trying to figure out how you're going to fund college for the student athlete that's just discouraged after, spending their whole life, what they seem, when you're 18, you feel like, man, I spent my whole life doing this, or 17, you still got options, and, just kind of widen your scope a little bit, and, get in touch with Kalvin here.
Yeah,
and
absolutely. And I'll just add before we close out here, it can be stressful. There can be a lot of anxiety and a lot of fear going into that senior year with the unknown. I've been there. I understand what your athlete can be feeling. And we have a proven system and process that can help take that away, that can help get you to that next level. You got to come hungry. Mm-hmm. You got to want it. Mm-hmm. And we've seen families accomplish it in 6 months, getting on the radar and having opportunities presented to them within 6 months with this intense program. Mm-hmm. So if that's something that you are willing to buy in, to go all in, like we said, mm-hmm. then Full Ride University is for you. And going into that senior season, time is of the essence. Mm-hmm. We have to make every game count, every showcase count. When I step on that field, somebody is going on my highlight tape.
Yep.
Somebody is getting me a scholarship. That's the mentality that has to be in place moving forward. So thank you again, Ben. I appreciate you having me out here.
Absolutely, man.
St. Pete is awesome. Again, 2 words, good energy.
Good energy.
And looking forward to getting you back out to Fort Lauderdale soon.
Absolutely, man. All right, till next time. Thanks, guys.